Welcome along to part 3 of Tom Gets a Set Together. Feeling a little low energy today, but also inspired, invigorated, which is a bit of an oxymoron, but I had an unexpected weekend of really connecting with someone I've been looking forward to doing so for a while, just platonically, sitting down, having hours and hours of really good chats about the future and new ideas and philosophy and stuff like that. That dabbled into my sleep cycle a little bit, so I am slightly on reserves, but we need to push through, and we've got some housekeeping to do today. So this stuff is good to do in those states. What are we doing? Well, when I was tidying up some stems after the last video, I noticed that I don't have stems for this Grouch remix, this Hyperion remix, and that's no good. So I'm going to be doing that today. We're going to be going through this project, which is quite big, and we're going to be preparing it into something which I can export the stems for. This is pretty much going to be the exact same technique as I use in that video that I mentioned in the last video, which was moving from the studio to live production. This one is a bit of a mess though. So quite often I try to keep things nice and tidy. You'll see we've got basses that have the same color, and I've called them bass and the tech and stuff like this, but we have kind of gone off track a bit here. There's some tracks that I have no idea what they are. So first thing I'll do is I'll go through and I'll have a listen. I'm going to remove anything that doesn't contribute in any way to the track. For example, this bass synth here, I notice it only has deactivated clips. So I can simply just delete that. And I'm going to play this from the start while I just go through. There's another one there, bass synth. There's no clips here whatsoever. So I'm just going to leave this playing. I'm actually just going to go get my headphones. I now have my headphones. So this track does nothing. So go through, find tracks that do nothing. Here's another one. Here's another one. The next step after I do this is to find tracks that aren't named correctly. Find out what's on them and name them correctly. Because then we can actually group them into their relevant categories for the stems. These all have stuff on them. This does. There's a little fill there. What about this one? Yep, that's got a little hit on it. These all look good. This synth wub. What is this? Let's have a listen. I'm just going to keep that for a moment. I'm going to chuck it over here. I'm going to remember it because this area here, there's not much going on, and I was just going to leave that up to the live situation to do something. But you know, sometimes you might find something that you forgot you wrote early on, or I think this might even be part of the original stems. Yeah, it is. So if we look at the file down below, you can see that this is an original piece of content from the remix. So we might be able to use that somehow. Where are we? Let's just play it from here. Just gonna rename this tech. Now this MIDI track doesn't appear to have any notes in it, and it's got no devices, so we'll get rid of that. What do we got here? So this is another circumstance from just going to quickly listen to see what's supposed to be here. Okay, we don't need that. We've got plenty of those coming up. This is deactivated, so again, let's just have a listen to see what this is. Nah, I'm just going to get rid of that now. Don't need it. Don't believe there's any audio in here. Chord titties. Okay. Insane grouch synth. Chords pitching, that's all good. New vocal. These all seem to be either deactivated or not there. Let's deactivate one and have a listen. Nah, we're not going to use that. I don't want to change much here. I may change the BPM of this and rework it because we do want this to be 135. The original track's 125, so I'd potentially get into making a bit of a more fast version of this, and it would be wise to do it now before I make the stems, rather than make the stems at 125, pitch them up to 135, and then figure what the fuck I'm doing then. But we'll see. Intro effects, good. Grouch, fuck. Number, grouch sound, effects ow. These all look like they have content. So you can see there's a lot going on in this track, and yeah, I have get it. Shepherd. So this group is currently muted. What have I got going on here? No, we're just going to get rid of that for now. This instrument rack is muted. Looks like we're playing with Shepherd's tone stuff. I'm just going to leave that muted. No, I'm going to delete it. Because there is another version of this track out there. This is why this track has been ongoing for so long as not being released, is because there's something I'm working on, which I haven't shown anyone, and I'm not going to be presenting in this video. There's a Shepherd's tone-esque version of this track that I would like to try and finish. But it is not currently in a playable state, so yeah. Collateral damage. That's got nothing. Okay, so now I've gone through and removed all of the tracks which are empty. I'll just check. There's some muted tracks, so what do we got here? Raspy samples. Let's have a listen. In a rack? No, they're not. I'm just going to get rid of it for now. This is just for stems, you know. For some reason, this chord pitching. No, we don't need this either. So if it's muted, it's as good as gone. What I was saying before is this isn't necessarily me cleaning up the track. If I was to go ahead and work on it production-wise, this is just preparing for stems. All these tech tracks chord techs are muted. We are peaking as well. Let's just put a limiter for now. I will work on the levels a bit later. I'm interested to know what this tech shit is. That's kind of cool. Let me just go and plonk that into where the part of the track when not much happens is. know what? I'm going to keep that in there because this will be rendered to the tech track, which means I can just have this on hand when I'm performing if I want to muck around with it. It does sound kind of cool, but we'll see. Let's duplicate it one more time. And then, okay, this track is muted. Prehistoric VHS. I don't know what's going on here. Nope, just gonna get rid of that. It's not necessary. Any more muted tracks? This one here, cowbell. This is at the start. Goodbye, cowbell. It's been an honor. Okay, so that's all the muted tracks. The next step is to go through and find tracks that don't have a name and figure out what they are. Like here. This group doesn't have a name. Let's have a look. Okay. Operator. So that is obviously a bass. We'll call it bass drop. This wavetable here. Oh, did we miss something? I don't think this wavetable has any content. It does not. Okay. Bass tech, format bass. This group is the bass pitch down, so we'll just call this bass pitch down. It's all good. Kick, 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 hats. Rear percussion. I'm just going to call this perk. I'm assuming this is percussion as well. Let's call that hats. New hat. Doesn't really matter how specific these are. It's just so I can categorize them into the percussion category if needed. This here is missing a whole bunch of samples. Whatever. We'll just get rid of that. Sometimes you just gotta let go. Open hats. Might as well rename that to open. This is obviously hats, but I'm just gonna call it hats. Shaker, yes, yes, cowbell. We do have cowbell in there. Snares. It's all good. All good. Fuckaducka. I should probably rename that to something a bit better. What the fuck do you call that? That's a fuckaducka. We'll call that FX fuckaducka just so I can put it into the right category. CR1, that's call and response one. So I'm going to call this synth. Yeah. This is... we'll just call this synth. Synthy gated. And this one is... so this can be synthy gated up. Synthy gated down. Of course this is my way of naming things, which is through years of bad habits and just remembering what things are. So these are all synths. Tech chord render. So let's just call this chords gated. I should keep away from the term tech because that's its own category. Yep. For example, tech. That's all good. What else we got here? Chords mangled. Chords mangled. What do we have here? These look like... I'm just going to call this a riser, because that'll go in the effects category. I'm assuming this is a riser as well. This diva is... I call these skonks. You can call them what you like. We'll call this chord Wubby. And this one, I'm assuming, is more of the same. No, we'll call that Up. This one is Up 2. What's in this group? We're getting a bit hard to see what's going on here. Zoom. Interesting. I wonder why that's in a group. I'm not going to mess with it, so we'll call this FX bass hit. FX bass hit. Grand piano. We'll just call this piano and piano. Little womp. That's all good, Tom, but what kind of womp is it? I'm just going to call that an FX riser. And saying Grouch synth, it's obviously a synth chord. So chords go in synths. Anything melodic goes into synths. Vocal, we'll go into the tech category. Raspy creepies. That's going to go into the effects creepies. Raspy hits. These could go into the percussion. Intro sound. I'm going to call this synth intro. Synth intro. Synth intro. And call this the same. Intro effects. Let's just make sure these are effects. That's fine. I'm going to go FX intro, however. Right, let's have a look at Grouch Fuck. Grouch Fuck has no instrument whatsoever. Interesting. Okay, so we can get rid of that. Grouch sound. I'm going to put that in FX Grouch sound. Vocoder send. So, am I doing some weird vocoder stuff here? That's slightly annoying because I don't know where the vocoder is, if it even exists. I might have to do a quick scan for that. We'll do that after we've done this. Response. We'll call this FX scary response. I'm just going to mark that as red. Come back to that. Scary. FX. That's all good. Then we got riser, faller. This track. Did we miss another one? Looks like we did. No content there. Goodbye. Operator. What do we got? Sounds like a riser to me. This one. Riser as well. Yep. This one might be a faller. Nope. It's another riser. Oh, we're nearly there. What are these? These are impacts. I'm gonna start categorizing riser, falls, and impacts. This serum, what do we got? Does this do anything? That doesn't do anything. Does that do anything? What actually is this? Let's have a quick listen. Pure saw wave. Okay, let's get rid of that. This MIDI track has absolutely no devices on it, so we can get rid of that. Okay, now I'm going to scan for this vocoder, the vocoder to which this may be doing something. We have one note, which is a long G0. I don't really want to do this, but let's have a look. So, fuck's sake, there's so much going on here. You know what? I think the quickest way would be just to listen to where that vocoder note is to the whole track and see if there is something that sounds vocoded. Doesn't sound like it. Let me just disable that. No, I'm confident that this does nothing. So I'm going to get rid of it. Okay. Looking good now. The frustrating part. So what I'm going to do here is close all my groups down. We'll just make everything small. We can do it this way. Alright, and now we need to group everything into those 6 categories, which is bass, kick, percussion, synth, tech, and rest. Again, those are the 6 elements I like to have my full stems in. It's just enough for me to be able to change things on the fly, but not too much for me to get overwhelmed. I'll tell you what I'll do here. I'm going to use an awesome trick that somebody just taught me. They left a comment on the last video saying if you hold the Windows key and push right. I'm always aware when I record these videos, when something pops up on a system level, is it going to dox me or show anything that I don't want? This looks all fine to me. I don't think you guys can judge me on any of this stuff. Okay, so that's handy, and then I've got the other window over here. So the reason I do this is I can find it a little bit easier to group everything. So, or can I? We'll see. So obviously these are all basses. So let's go ahead and group this into a track. And I'm going to call this bass with caps. Next is the kick. So I see 2 kicks here. Hopefully they're the only 2 kicks. Let's group these. We'll call them kick. And I'm going to drag that directly under the bass group. Like so. Next we have percussion. Well, here's a 4-man bass. So let's just rename this the bass format. It doesn't really matter. And here's bass pitch down. Can I see any other basses while I'm at it? No. So I'm going to drag these into the bass group. Here's a kick resampled. I'm better just drag that into the kick group. Now we can work on the percussion. So these are all percussion going down. What is flex? Let's just make sure flex is a percussive element. It is a flexitone. Flexi something. I used to get in trouble at school orchestra for playing that. I was a percussionist, and the conductor, if he was getting angry or something or going on a rant, when he finished I would do that sound and everyone would laugh. It was a very good way to lighten the mood. I'm going to just say from here to here is percussion so far, so let's group that and we'll call this perk, all caps. Close it down. What do we got here? So this is FX, obviously. So some of these will need to be arranged, but let's go to synth. So these are all synths. We've got chords, all good. Let's group these. Call this synth. Close that down. Next is tech. So this is already a group, but I want this to be a group within a group because this group already serves a purpose. So synth, tech. That's all good. Now we just need our rest. So I'm going to scroll down here and go from the bottom up. So we've got our fallers, we've got our FX, then we've got a synth. So I'm going to stop there. We'll group this and we'll call this rest. So rest has FX, rises, fallers, anything that doesn't really belong to these other categories. So now I do have my 4 main groups: rest, tech, synth, percussion, kick, and bass. Now anything that is not white, I just need to get into the right area. So here are 2 FX rises. Let's go and drag them into the rest. This FX creepies can go on the rest. Here's another FX riser. These are all vocals go into the tech. I should call it tech / vocals, but vocals always go into the tech. Here we have percussion creepies, so that can go into the percussion. Looks like I don't need this view after all. Synth intro, synth, 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 synth. You know, we can use the control key as well if we want to just skip across the FX bass hits. Up, up, chord, 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 chord. They all can go all in the synth. FX bass hit can go on rest. FX fokadoka goes, oh, didn't quite make it in there. Then we can put the percussion in here. And we can put this tech in here. And that's how we sort everything into its 6 groups. Now it's just a matter of levels and exporting. So to do the levels, let's just pick a spot. Let's solo the bass. Let's solo the kick. Let's solo the percussion. Let's solo the synth. Let's, why isn't this in here? Come on. Let's solo the tech. Okay, and the rest. Everything seems to be in its right place. So at this stage, I'm going to go to my master channel. I'm going to get rid of the limiter. And just as a base, I'm going to bring these all down by, let's go -9. No, oh, shit. So what I used to do is not care about this stage, just chuck a limiter on the master and just let it slap. And of course, it's made my sound weak. You know, like some stuff will be pushing it, some stuff won't be. If I have a limiter with any sort of expansion on it, it just means that each stem is going to be like pushed way beyond what it possibly should be. And if I bring all the levels down in my live set, it's just going to have some kind of squashed feeling to it, and that's no good. And there's a lot more I could do better here, and I am working on this a bit more. But what I've found is less is more, right? They tell you this all the time, and it's taken me 20 years to figure this shit out. But if I can get everything playing without peaking the master at, say, -9, so bringing all of these groups down by -9, the master's at 0, that's most likely the best possible content I can work with. Now, I can do some processing in my live set for this particular track, but we'll see how that goes. So let's just have a look here. We'll have a look over, check out our master over here. Let's have a look. I'm about to sneeze. And I turn the mic off just in time. Now this looks all good, you know, -2. I don't believe I'm going to have any issues here if I was to render each one of these tracks individually, these groups, sorry. If them all combined, if the max was -2, then I'll be all good. Now I am going to go ahead and save this. Here is another one of those pop-up situations where I want to make sure that I'm not going to dox myself. Whatever. So, renders, sets, this is the folder that I use for all of my stems. I'm just going to make a new folder. I'm going to call this Hyperion. Actually, no, what am I doing? I'm doing the wrong thing. I want to save this as a version of Hyperion, which is inside the actual project, which is TuneStudio, Coloops, Scratch 40, Hyperion, blah, blah, blah. So let's go ahead and save this as Hyperion 7.6, ready for stems export. Because I will render these, and if I find there is an issue, you know, maybe I fucked up with my levels, then I can just come back and readjust them. And you may be asking, what about the sends and the reverbs? Well, they tend to just be active in the render. If something within rest uses one of these return tracks, then it gets rendered in that particular group. So I'm pretty much good to go. I just need to figure out where the endpoint is. I'm going to call it here. I'm just going to add a marker, or add a locator. In fact, what I'll do is I'll use the loop marker to indicate that that is the end and that is the start. So now I'm going to go select all. I'm going to solo the bass. I'm going to go, we don't have anything on the master, do we? No, I'm going to go Command Shift R. I want to render this, turn off MP3, 16-bit wave is fine. Maybe I should move up one day, but for now this is all good. Don't want to normalize, we don't want any of this. Let's go export. And now we can go into our renders set folder. Did I already? Yep, I created Hyperion. And I'm going to render this as Hyperion. Oh, we didn't look at what... We didn't look at if... I'll tell you what, I am going to render this as Hyperion 125 bass. I'm going to save that. And this is where it takes a while. So I'm not going to do all of these at the end of this video. I feel like you'll understand what happens next. Once this is finished, I will simply solo the kick and do the same. This is the kick group, then solo the percussion and do the same, then the synth and do the same. And I'll do it 6 times, which will give me 6 stems of the track in its entirety, and that is something that we can then load into the live set template and chop into its relevant pieces, like its phrasing and the drops and the loops and everything like that. And then we're good to go, hopefully. If I haven't made any mistakes, we will find out. What I will do now, I'm going to take a little break, and then I'm going to come back to this exact set we're working on here once these renders are done, and I'm going to bring the BPM up to 135, and I'm going to have a listen to see how it sounds changed on the project level. We may need to change some things. We may need to change the bass. You know, when you speed things up, you lose a bit of groove. Sometimes 16th notes in the bass don't really punch anymore because they don't have enough time to develop. So that may be a short video, that may be a long video, I'm not sure. But just considering we do have the opportunity to change the BPM on the project level, I would like to try that. So that will be the next video. Then following that will be probably managing stems in the actual live project file itself. There are 3 remixes which I still have to include. I do understand that it's Monday and I'm leaving on Friday, but I believe we do have time for this. So there will be some production stuff happening probably tomorrow, considering how I'm feeling. I hope this was okay. I hope my low mood still produced a somewhat at least educational video. So now that bass is done, I'm going to solo the kick track. Command Shift R, export, and I'm just going to rename this to kick. And there we go. Okay, I will see you in the next video where I will have a coffee and then attempt to bring this up to 135 and see how it sounds. See you later.